Dr. Sairam, you are on the call, right? Yeah, we are not able to hear you. Just to make sure you are audible.
Sure, sir.
Okay,
Am
okay,
I okay?
okay. Yeah, sorry about it. What is happened? It's unfortunate, and the things
No,
go
it's okay,
wrong.
sir. No problem.
Yeah, things go wrong sometimes, but we are back on track. And so, just to give a Okay, so let me give a quick introduction about Dr. Sairam. Dr. Sairam is a dentist by profession and has been a student of Dr. Ambedkar's life and teachings for last 7 years. He is also the regular speaker with our BAWS team and also on the forum, and delivered multiple lectures there and talk about Dr. Ambedkar's philosophy, Phule and Shah Maharaj. So he talked about multiple topics at multiple forum. And this is our pleasure today to invite Dr. Sairam on the online Vihara. So Sairam, this online Vihara we are conducting since last 10 years. We started in 2011. Every Sunday, without fail, we are conducting this session with the three segments. The first segment is a Dhamma session with the Bhante. The second is the kid story, the kids motivational story. And the third one is the intellectual speaker like you come on the call and they share about their knowledge. And also sometimes the activist comes and they share their activism on this call. So friends, without further delay, the today's topic is the real meaning of educate. In Dr. Ambedkar's slogan, educate, agitate, and organize. So with this, I will request Dr. Sairam to go over the topic. So Dr. Sairam, this will be around 30 to 45 minutes and we'll have a question answer session. So if you don't mind to conclude
Sure.
within the time frame, and we will want to make sure we will conclude within the time frame. But again, thank you very much for joining today. Over
Thank
to
you,
you.
sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are audible. And if you like to share any slides or anything, please let us know.
Definitely, sir. And thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful introduction. And at the very outset, I'd like to thank Sandeep Bhai and the team of Ambedkar Association of North America for giving me this amazing opportunity. So I'll start the presentation right away. Are you able to see the presentation, sir?
Yes, you can see that. Yeah. If you want to full screen, do the
Yes,
full
sir.
screen. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I've done it, sir.
Yeah.
So,
Now it's better. Yeah.
sure, sir. Friends, today we're going to discuss a very important yet short topic called the real meaning of educate in Dr. Ambedkar's slogan, educate, agitate, and organize. In common parlance, the word educate in Dr. Ambedkar's slogan, educate, agitate, and organize, is usually associated with the word literacy or getting higher education. It is true that Dr. Ambedkar wanted us, all of us, to get highly educated. There is no doubt about it. To quote the great words of Dr. Ambedkar, he said, "You'll not get jobs by simply becoming a graduate. Without competing with the people from the upper castes with your intellect, your education would be useless. In fact, just as they have been suppressing you and your ancestors for the past hundreds of years, they'll try again to suppress you." He said, "Hence, your education should be such that all our students should be able to dominate the world. Do not be contented with becoming just a BA. Remember your duties and strive to achieve excellence in education. When I first became a barrister, I was ridiculed being an untouchable, but I got their mouths shut by my actions and performance." Babasaheb continues, "Unless we shine brightly, we do not get recognition and attention. It is not so with other communities. Our work of gold's value is termed as tin's worth. But when the people from upper classes do some work, even that of just a tin's worth, it is considered as the work the gold. This is the way things work today in our society. You will see that if an untouchable woman or a cleaner's wife or a cobbler's wife wears gold ornaments, the upper caste people think it is fake. However, if a woman hailing from an upper caste wears even brass ornaments, it is presumed that they are of gold. We face a similar situation everywhere. Only if our work is extraordinary would we stand a chance of being recognized. We need to create confidence within ourselves in order to achieve this. To sum up, Abasep undoubtedly wanted all of us to get the highest education possible in all the diverse fields, be it medicine, engineering, astrophysics, whatever it is. And he also urged us to work hard to dominate all other students to emerge as undisputed experts. But this is a very important question. Is this the only sense in which Dr. Ambedkar used the word educate? Or is there something more to the word educate than merely getting higher education? Let us see. The real meaning of educate in the slogan of educate, agitate, and organize. There's a world of difference between being illiterate and being educated. I'm going to quote a very important, phrase from the writings of Dr. Ambedkar. He said, "The power of the privileged classes rests upon lies which are sedulously propagated among the masses." He says, "No resistance to power is possible while the sanctioning lies which justify that power are accepted as valid. While the lie, which is the first and chief line of defense, remains unbroken, there can be no revolt. Before any injustice, any abuse or oppression can be resisted, the lie upon which it is founded must be unmasked, must be clearly recognized for what it is. This can happen only with education." So, what Dr. Ambedkar is saying is the power of the oppressors is built on the foundation of lies and untruth. So, as long as you believe in the lies and untruth propagated by the oppressors, you will get exploited. And the essence of education is getting this knowledge to realize that these lies are being used to justify the discrimination that is being committed on our own community. This is the value of education. I'm going to explain detailedly. For example, let us take an example of an untruth. Usually we hear this common justification that, for example, if you're living in abject poverty, people in power usually say that, you're living in abject poverty because you have committed sins in your previous life. Now, as long as people believe this lie, they believe that, yes, maybe I'm, living in this abject conditions and poverty and all the misery because maybe I've committed something wrong in the previous life. As long as people believe this lie, they'll continue to get exploited and the oppressors will get benefited. Naturally, the power structure, entire power structure, remains intact. Therefore, attacking the lie that justifies the discrimination and injustice is the first step towards ensuring justice. Now, to sum up, true education means the knowledge required to first realize the fact that there is injustice and exploitation in our world. This is very important. Second, identify untruth and lies that justify the injustice and discrimination. Finally, the knowledge which we gain should enable us to destruct or to cause the destruction of lies and untruth with the help of truth to remove the suffering. I'm going to repeat it again because it's very important. Many people are literate. They have so many degrees, highly educated, but they do not have knowledge. The knowledge is this. It should enable us to have these three things. First, realize the fact that there is injustice and exploitation in the world. Second, identify the untruth and lies that justify the injustice and discrimination. And finally, the knowledge should enable us to destroy the lies and untruth, with the help of the truth, to remove the suffering in the world. This is what Buddha said, and this is what true knowledge means. Now, the writings and speeches of Dr. Ambedkar are nothing but a treasure trove of this true knowledge. Dr. Ambedkar has exposed all these types and forms of lies and untruths that have been used throughout the ages to justify discrimination and exploitations of the worst sort. And in fact, he offered all the solutions to fight these historical injustices. If we do not equip our own people with this knowledge base, they will fall into the trap of lies incessantly and gets exploited on an augmental side. This is what happens in history. People at one point of time gets educated, they have this knowledge, but that education and knowledge is not communicated to the next generations. Naturally, the next generations will believe in the same old lies and they get ensnared in these traps. Once again, ensuring that the discrimination continues. This should not happen. Therefore, it becomes our responsibility as citizens of this nation to not only read the works of Baba Sahib, but also to disseminate them to the masses as much as possible to make our India more equitable and rational. Then only we'll become the real superpower. We cannot become real superpower if the majority of the masses are kept away from the education, true education. Now, to make the thing more illustrative, let's assume that, as I said, power of the oppressors, as said by Baba Sahib, is built on the lies and untruths. And if this pen represents a metaphor of true education, with the help of this education, you can topple off the entire power structure. And attaining true education in the sense that we have discussed so far and utilizing it properly can collapse the entire power structure. The life of Dr. Ambedkar bears ample testimony to it. So far, we have seen that the word educate encompasses both literacy and knowledge. On one hand, literacy means you need to excel very well in your own profession, extraordinary proficiency in your respective fields of education, as I said, be doctor, astrophysicist, psychologist, and so on, whatever it is. Second, the word educate also encompasses the knowledge which we have discussed, the understanding required to realization of the fact that there is injustice and exploitation in our world. Second, to identify the untruth and lies that justify the injustice and discrimination. And finally, the destruction of these lies and untruth, the help of the truth. So these are the two things that are encompassed in the word educate. Now, here is the main question. Do you think that mere literacy and knowledge are sufficient to initiate social change? This brings us to the question, the significance of Sila. As you know, Sila is one of the very important virtues celebrated and cherished in the Buddhist thought. Bhagavan Buddha has given so much of significance to this quality. And what is that quality? Let's get these words very clear. When we say prajna, it means thinking aright. And we say sila, it means acting aright. So with this clarification, let us go. There is no guarantee that an individual with prajna or knowledge will necessarily have sila. A person can be absolutely meritorious, yet he or she may be dangerous to the society. We often hear the argument, both in India and also in the West, like, we need to have people who are talented, meritorious, efficient, proficient, whatever it is. But the real question is, person can be absolutely talented or meritorious, but that person can be very dangerous to the society. After all, talent is not a virtue in itself. People always equate talent as if it is a virtue, but talent and virtue are both different things. That is why Dr. Ambedkar remarked, Prajna is necessary, knowledge is necessary, but Sila, that is acting right, is more necessary. He says, Prajna, the knowledge, is like a sword in the hand of a man. In the hand of a man with Sila, it may be used for saving a man with danger. But in the hand of a man without Sila, it may be used for murder. That is why Sila is more important than Prajna. Let us take few examples to understand the entire thing. Let's take the case where a person is having prajna, that is knowledge, but he or she is not having sila, the moral character to act right. The best example, for instance, let us take the case of very celebrated, cherished theoretical physicist, Robert Oppenheimer. Recently, we saw a movie, made on him. Now, from the point of view of prajna, from point of view of knowledge, he was spot on. He was proficient in his knowledge about nuclear physics that led to the development of nuclear weapons for the first time in the history of humanity. Now, this is the real question. But from the point of view of Sila or acting aright, his proficiency or his merit has resulted in immeasurable loss of human life in Japan. We know these facts. That is why Dr. Ambedkar, citing the preachings of Buddha, said, Prajna without Sila is dangerous. And that Sila is more important than Prajna. Let us take the case of, Prajna along with Sila. Most of the people from Maharashtra might recognize this extraordinary person. and his name is Dadaji Ramaji Gobragati. He was an innovative thinker and a leading plant breeder who created at least 9 varieties of rice. People who say that they are meritorious, they did not even create a single variety of rice. But here is a case of our own man, Dadaji Ramji Gobragati, who has created at least 9 varieties of rice. He is the creator of the popular HMT rice, which is grown on more than 1 million acres across India. He strived hard throughout his life to eliminate hunger from the world and has freely shared his seeds to many agricultural institutes of national and international importance. Dadaji once said, I stopped skinning the cattle on the call of Dr. Ambedkar. I never got to see Baba Sahib, but my generation came out of the past shadows because of it. And this is the case where a person has a knowledge and also has the moral quality of Sila so that his knowledge can be used for the proliferation of common good. I gave this example because people maybe outside from Maharashtra may not recognize him or know him. That is why I wanted to give him an example. And I thank my friend Vinesh Shinde for giving me or sharing me the information on this extraordinary legend. Let us take one more example. I think you might recognize her, Marie Curie, with her daughter Irene. We know about the enormous contributions made by Marie Curie ma'am in the field of physics and chemistry, particularly radioactivity. And if I'm not wrong, she's someone who's credited with the discovery of these elements like radium and polonium. Even today, she's the only person to win 2 Nobel Prizes. Now, what makes her really great is the following detail. As I said, how many of us are aware of her invaluable contributions during the World War I? Marie Curie realized that the electromagnetic radiation of X-rays could help doctors see the bullets embedded in the soldiers' bodies and also to locate broken bones. We are speaking about the era of 1914 and 15. At the time, all these X-ray machines were not available. So this was something very new. So she realized that with the help of X-rays, doctors can identify all these bullets that are present inside these bones in the body parts. And she also realized that X-ray equipment is far from the battlefield. Curie and her daughter Irene arranged a fleet of vehicles equipped with X-ray machines and set up nearly 200 radiological units using largely the money that she received from her Nobel Prizes. And this is one of the vans which was, designed by Marie Curie herself, where she would carry all the X-ray equipment in those vans and go to the battlefield to help treat the patients in the battlefield. It is said that these interventions from Marie Curie and Irene have saved the lives of more than 10 lakh people. I'm giving this example because we often hear about Marie Curie and her contributions as an intellectual. But from the point of view as a human, from the point of view of Sila that we discussed, the moral quality to do something right, this is what makes Marie Curie genuinely a greatest person. She's so much of an intellectual, and she's not someone who wanted to remain aloof from the happenings of the world and focus on her own workings of the mind. But she realized that the world is not in a good condition. People are suffering. People are getting died. I want to use my knowledge for the benefit of common people, for the common good. This is the combination of Pradnya and Sila. And final example, you might be thinking why I'm giving so many examples, but because we are accustomed to hear or listen to only negative stories. He has killed so many people, he has done this or that. But here are the examples of so many great people who have done so much for the contribution of humanity to ensure that the world is a better place. So that is why I'm giving some examples from the positive side, and this is the last example. Take finally the case of Dr. Ella Subbarao. Quite unfortunately, many people don't know about it, even in India. He's from the state of Andhra Pradesh. Even people from Andhra don't know much about him, which is an unfortunate thing. He was a great biochemist. Now, when he was a student in Madras Medical College at the time in 1910s, his 2 brothers passed away in quick succession due to tropical sports, a disease. He was completely devastated. His 2 brothers, whom he loved so much, passed away. Deeply disturbed by these events, Dr. Subbarao made a firm resolve to find a cure for many such diseases. He got himself educated, went to USA, got studied at Harvard, and he subsequently discovered folic acid as a cure for tropical skin. He went on to discover many drugs. Prominent among them is methotrexate, chemotherapy drug used even today. Here is a case of one more case. It's a person having pradnya and also using it for the betterment of humanity. Finally, if the example of Robert Oppenheimer or any other person illustrates the dangers of pradnya without sila, the exemplary examples of D.R. Kobragateji, Vedic Hume, and Dr. Subbarao informs us that how pradnya along with sila can promote common good and make this world a better place. Here are some new examples so that to make it more interesting. To conclude, the word educate in the slogan of Babasaheb encompasses three components, namely literacy, knowledge, and sila. We need to have all these three components. Otherwise, it will be a disastrous thing. Absence of any one of the components will act as a detriment to overall progress. Therefore, all the three components are needed to promote the common good. Educate. To understand it really, it has three components: literacy, the knowledge, sila. These three things are very, very important. Say, for example, a person is illiterate, highly educated. That person even has this knowledge that there is something wrong is happening in the world. He also knows the solutions to tackle them. But that person doesn't have a moral character, doesn't have sila, then nothing happens. What is the use of your knowledge if you're not, using it for the emancipation of the people? At the same time, person can have sila, an extraordinary moral quality to do good. So that person has the will to do something good. But if the person lacks knowledge, then he or she cannot do good for the people because they lack the means to initiate the change. That is why all these three things are important. And these three things, or these three components, encompass the word educate. Now, how to get educated? Regarding literacy, I can't suggest because it depends on profession. If you're a psychologist, you need to read something else. For an astrophysicist, you need to read for something else. I can't suggest anything here. But if you ask me, how do I gain knowledge? The real knowledge, the sense that we've discussed so far, I suggest you to read the writings and speeches of Dr. Ambedkar. As we discussed, Dr. Ambedkar has exposed all the lies and untruths that have been used since untold ages to justify the discrimination. And he has also informed us what we can do so that we can expose these lies and also promote conscience and finally destroy the discrimination that is happening in our society. Finally, if you want to know more about Sila, what is Sila? What is morality? Is morality connected intricately with religion or morality something that is independent of religion? These are all complex questions. But if you read the work, the magnum opus of Dr. Ambedkar, called Buddha and his Dhamma, you'll find answers to all these questions. Now, there are still two important questions. I'll just take 5 minutes and I'll complete the session. Firstly, for all the 24 volumes of writings and speeches of Dr. Ambedkar, what is the volume that I should start reading first? Where should I begin? This is a very common question that I get from my friends and others. Second, where will I find the books of Dr. Ambedkar online? It's very difficult to find them, in hard copies because the press is not going to publish them. They are only available in some obscure regions of Maharashtra, and it's even difficult for Maharashtrian friends to find them, the complete set. Naturally, we need to get the PDFs. So, where will I find the books of Dr. Ambedkar online? We're going to deal with these two questions. Firstly, if I were to classify the entire writings of Dr. Ambedkar, this is how I would do. Firstly, as you know, he was an extraordinarily trained economist. He got 2 PhDs in economics, one from Columbia University and second from London School of Economics. I remember a story. Actually, if you want to get a DSc degree or PhD in LSE, you need to first pass the MSc exam. Dr. Ambedkar did not give any exam because his capabilities, his understanding of economics is so strong that the examiner said, you need not to give any MSc exam, you can directly enroll yourself for the PhD. In fact, one of the teachers, Edward Foxwell, he said, you have no more worlds to conquer here. You have already done the maximum possible research on economics when you were at Columbia. What are you going to do now here? Dr. Ambedkar said, no, I wanted to study even more. And then he went on to do a second PhD. in economics from London School of Economics and wrote a famous book called The Problem of the Rupee, which led to the establishment of Reserve Bank of India. Now, as I said, he was an unchallenged economist. As a professionally trained economist, he has written three books. First is Administration and Finance of the East India Company, The Evolution of Provincial Finance in British India, and finally, The Problem of the Rupee, Its Origin and Solution. Regarding the aspect or domain of law and politics, he has written these following books, as you know, Federation versus Freedom. It's a powerful speech on the Government of India Act 1935. Interestingly, Government of India Act 1935 is something that has largely led to the formulation of our own constitution. Many people do not know that even in the formulation of Government of India Act 1935, Dr. Ambedkar played a very important role because Government of India Act 1935 is nothing but the culmination of the three roundtable conferences. And apart from Dr. Ambedkar, no one else has attended all of them. Second, Ranade Gandhi and Jannah. Here's the book where he speaks about hero worship and all other things, which is relevant even today for our politics. Third, the classical book Thoughts on Pakistan or Pakistan or the Partition of India. What Congress and Gandhi have done to the untouchables, which has completely shaken Gandhi. It is said that after reading the book, his readings of blood pressure has gone too high. So doctors say, please don't read the book completely. We don't know if he had finished the book. Then you have states and minorities, the document that he submitted to the Constituent Assembly. It's a mini constitution. So India is yet to start its task of writing a constitution. Here is a case where Dr. Ambedkar has already prepared a draft and sent it to the Assembly. That was Dr. Ambedkar's brilliance. Finally, thoughts on linguistic states. When it comes to history, anthropology, and sociology, he has written the following books. As we know, Castes in India, its first seminal paper in anthropology, then Annihilation of Caste, Who Were Shudras, The Untouchables of the Children of India's Ghetto. Finally, Revolution and Counter-Revolution in Ancient India. When it comes to religion, Buddha and his Dhamma, Hills Hinduism, Philosophy of Hinduism, Buddha or Karl Marx, and finally, Christianizing the Untouchables. For all these books, genuinely person who is completely uninformed will ask, where should I begin? Because there are nearly 20 books, this own chart. And the most important thing is, Baba Sahib had written even 20 more books, but they're yet to be published. So he has written completely 40 books. So unfortunately, we have only 20 of them available right in front of us. So the question is, where should I begin? I suggest you to read this book called as Revolution and Counter-Revolution in Ancient India, and also tell why. Of course, if you want to have brief summary of each and every of these books, you can check this video of mine, which I gave recently in August. I'm sorry, it is wrong to do self-promotion, but this video will offer you a very crisp summary of each and every book written by Dr. Ambedkar. You can check that video of mine. And yes, you might be wondering, for all these 20 books, why am I suggesting you to begin with Revolution and Counter-Revolution in Ancient India? I just take 2 minutes. I'm sorry if I'm exceeding the time limit. Why am I suggesting this book? I have some reasons for that. Firstly, in this book, Dr. Ambedkar offers an extraordinary perspective in the following events of history. Firstly, he discusses what was the condition of Indian society for the birth of Buddha. Secondly, the enormous influence of Buddha on Indian society, both social, religious, and political. For example, there's the fascinating statue or carving of Buddha, which is found in Afghanistan, belongs to Gandhara School of Art, if I'm not wrong. Now, whenever we speak about the impact of Buddhism, we need to remember these words of Dr. Ambedkar, who said, the elevation of the status of the Shudras and women was so much the result of the gospel of Buddhism that Buddhism was called by its enemies as a Shudra religion. So you can understand if these people who are having this hatred in their own belly, mind, and everywhere, if they call this religion as Shudra religion, ye Shudron ka dharma, this itself says that how Buddhism has emancipated countless number of people, particularly the Shudras and the women. This is something that you need to understand. And there is only something which Baba Sahib explains very clearly in his works, according to the context. If you read any other book written on Buddhism, you will not find this context. It's mostly the debate on philosophy. But the real question is, why is it that Buddhism was a huge success in ancient India? Because it is able to emancipate Shudras and women, who are the majority of the population, almost 90%. To understand these facts in a very intricate manner, you have to read this book. Thirdly, Baba Sahib also deals about this very interesting question. We often hear these words Nagas, Gandharvas, Asuras, etc. etc. But who are these people? The mythologists inform us that these people are snakes. But Baba Sahib asks this very important question: are they really snakes or are they humans? Baba Sahib concludes by proving that Nagas are a human community with rich cultural heritage and that it was Nagas who made relentless efforts to spread Buddhism throughout the countries. Very interestingly, Dr. Ambedkar informs us in his conversion speech that he gave on 15th of October 1956 in front of 7 lakh of his followers that the ancestors of untouchables were Nagas. And this fact that was written by Baba Sahib was extraordinarily transformed into a visual spectacle by Paranjit, an extraordinary filmmaker from Tamil Nadu, in his film called as Tangalan. It is unfortunate that this movie is yet to be released on OTT platform, but once it is released, I request everyone to see this movie because this movie is nothing but the translation of Dr. Ambedkar's view of history into a visual spectacle. Don't miss this movie. Wonderful performances from Vikram, Malavika, Parvati, and any other startling actress. So, yes, this is a carving found in the Amaravati, which is of Andhra Pradesh, where Buddha is welcomed by Nagas. All these people are Nagas. I can show many other pictures. This shows the intricate connection between Buddhism and Nagas, and untouchables ancestors were Nagas. Finally, we'll also understand the everlasting glory of Asoka and other modern emperors by reading this book, Revolution and Counter-Revolution in Ancient India. And this is one of those rare images where Dr. Ambedkar was visiting the museum to see this lion capital of Ashoka. And finally, this is the most important part. If you read this book, Revolution and Counter-Revolution in Ancient India, you'll also understand the reasons for the fall of Buddhism, the rise of this evil person, Vishamitra Sundar, and the creation of Manusmriti. And you will find many more details. The reason why I suggested this book is if you read this book, it forms a very concrete base of Dr. Ambedkar's thought process. So that once you have this base that is formed in your mind, you can easily explore any of the works. Otherwise, it becomes confusion because unfortunately all these volumes are not arranged in a chronological or thematic format when they are published. So it becomes a bit difficult for many new people. So that is why if you read this book, it forms a concrete base on which you can build many other things. So this is what I wanted to suggest. Let us come to the second question. Okay, you have suggested me a book, but where will I find the books of Dr. Ambedkar online? That is why we have this wonderful website created by BAWS.in team. You can go to Google, search BAWS.in, then you'll find this web page on your screen, and this is the website of BAWS.in. Please note it down. Explore this website. You'll find all the books of Dr. Ambedkar. Here are the options. You can arrange these books on chronology or thematic basis, and you can explore all of them and read them, start reading them. And of course, don't forget to follow this amazing website, BAWS.in, on social media to get regular updates on the life and writings of Dr. Ambedkar. This is the Instagram handle, this is the WhatsApp channel, this is the X link. So follow this site on social media to get the regular updates on the writings and life of Dr. Ambedkar. You need to constantly read them because, as I said, you can individually have literacy. You might be a great doctor, great engineer, or any other thing. But if you want to really have that knowledge, we need to read Dr. Ambedkar. So that is non-negotiable. So I'm going to conclude. So with these words, I'm going to second. This is one of my favorite quotations from Dr. Ambedkar. This is his final message. He said, "If there is one lesson that you must learn from my life, it is this, that I have never disowned my community." It's a very important thing. I have been proud in sharing their happiness and misery all throughout my life and will continue to do so. This is something that we need to remember and reiterate every time so that we'll have that community feeling. There's a general misunderstanding that whenever we speak about these words, we need to have community feeling, we need to have that community bond. People say that this is communal, but this is not true because if we are speaking about community bond. If our community is so developed, majority of them are billionaires and all, then it makes no sense. But a community is still living in abject poverty and are subjected to ignominies of the worst sort on daily basis. Therefore, it becomes our responsibility to have this community bond, which Baba Sahib calls a spiritual bond, so that all of us could rise together above and break these shackles of discrimination and injustice. This is the message of Dr. Ambedkar, which we need to remember and reiterate every time. And I thank you, each and everyone, for taking the time to attend this session. I know it's a very short session, but I just wanted to give you this brief outline of the word educate. Because every time I hear, every time I see people speaking about it or read books talking about this aspect, they only refer to literacy aspect. Like you should get higher education, you should get settled in life, you should get a job. Undoubtedly true. As I showed in my first part of the presentation, Baba Sahib did not have any problem with that. You need to get educated, get a job, settle well in life, economically achieve all the things, no doubt. But parallelly, you also need to have knowledge in Sila. So to conclude, educate as the word, the slogan of Baba Sahib encompasses three things. First is literacy. Get proficiency in your own field, whatever maybe it is. Second, get this knowledge base by reading the works of Dr. Ambedkar. And finally, cultivate that sila, that moral quality, to do something good for the humanity. So with this presentation, I have to stop. Thank you so much, Sandeep Bhai, and thank you so much, the team of Anna, for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sairabji. Thank you very much for highlighting the education from the three mantras that Baba Sahib gave it to us. And of course, we'll come back to the other mantras later on. But right now, you highlighted very efficiently and narrated very nicely on the PowerPoint presentation. And without
Thank you.
further delay, we'll go ahead. Arunaji, please go ahead. Your question. You can unmute
No, no,
yourself.
no, Jai
Yeah,
Bhim.
Jai Bhim.
Thanks a lot for enlightening me also about Baba Sahib's speeches and all, because we don't read everything, but through your knowledge, we gain the knowledge. So I had one question, like Baba Sahib's book, the Buddha and his Dhamma. Do you have in your translated in your own regional language?
No, ma'am. It's not translated.
So you know what I was thinking, like if someone can translate that, and we can distribute the books to the South India, so they will learn more about him, because in Maharashtra and MP is very common. Every house has his book. Yeah. So let me know, and then I can, if we can translate, then you just print it, and I will take I will donate the books.
Sure, ma'am.
This book and Dhammapad, if someone can translate in your own language, so please.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much.
And anything is going on to spreading Buddhism in your state, I just wanted to know. Because we have monks who are going there, they all well qualified monks. They came from Sri Lanka and Thailand, are Indian monks. And we want to send them to different villages where they can spread Buddhism. So
Yes,
if you can, share your phone number, or you can take my number and you can contact, so we can work together.
definitely, ma'am. Thank you so much for that. And regarding the state or condition of Buddhism in my own state, I come from Telangana. So, frankly speaking, it's very, very disappointing. The number of Buddhists is very abysmally low. And in fact, in my own district, there is not a single Vihara. And this itself tells the condition of Buddhism in our own state. And efforts are being made slowly, but I think it requires a substantial power to push this happen. And it is a very lengthy topic. Definitely, we can discuss about it. The reasons why Buddhism is not so popular in our own state.
That's what I said. Like we have to have a teacher first. So like if monks will go and they will take interest, like the people, social workers, they can encourage the community, and then of course I want to donate the land to make a vihara. So, but they have to build the vihara. So this is how one village will do, the another village they will get encouraged.
Good.
So please let me know. Thank
Definitely.
you. Namo Buddhaya.
Thank you so much. Namo Buddhaya. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Sairam, thank you for highlighting such a wonderful topic. Indeed, you have explained well, and I think you are being a missionary down south, I guess. My question is in the similar line as Miss Aruna ji asked. We see there's a large footprints of Buddhism in South India, such as like you mentioned the Andhra Pradesh Amravati. Yes, it was a capital earlier, but not anymore, right? I believe. So anyway, so going in that footprint on the footprints, having such a highest evidence of Buddhism, why there's such a lack of interest among the populations, South Indian population, in Buddhism, and there's such a high migrations, also like educated people from South, went north, even a lot of them have the pretty close proximity connection to Maharashtra. Eight, such a like a less interest among the populations. Do you have any idea, since you are seems very understandable, knowledgeable doctor, as a practitioner as well as the social activist? Do you have any understanding why such a so apathy towards Buddhism in South?
Yes, sir. I think first reason is state is the most powerful tool to promote any religion or to defame any religion. And any state government, I think most state government in India is doing anything to promote Buddhism. That's the first reason. Second, majority of the population are completely religious in the sense that they are into Hinduism, Islam, or any other religions. They are not aware, frankly speaking, about the teachings of Buddha. Thirdly, even if they know that there is Buddha and that here are the sculptures of Buddhism in our area, they think that Buddha is also the part of Vishnu. So it doesn't make any difference for them. So it's just in another Hindu temple or sculpture. And particularly, there are many areas in our own state where new stories have been invented to say that this is not the Buddhist temple. This is originally this is the cave where Pandavas came all the way from Delhi or that place to stay there during their exile or something like that. So many stories have been concocted so that completely the awareness is removed or erased from the memory of people. Naturally, they don't know. They completely ignore it. Second, there are no efforts. State can do it, but state is not doing it. Thirdly, there are some organizations who are trying to rekindle the spirit of Buddhism, but I think they don't have proper guidance and monetary support. That is something. They have the willpower to do something good, but they are not getting enough support and encouragement. So that's the reason. And there is a natural apathy or negative attitude towards Buddhism, particularly among the educated people, because they know that Buddha was against caste system and many other things. So I remember going to a museum, Hyderabad, where some of the statues of Buddha are kept openly outside. They're getting completely destroyed with rain, sunlight, and all, etc. So completely the condition is very disappointing. It requires a very concrete plan to start the recleaning of Buddhism. And I'm sorry if I'm not able to answer it correctly because I'm not an expert on this thing, but I'm sharing whatever I know or understand from my own little experiences. The condition is very pathetic.
So, and I say, the connectivity is not there. And so how do you see the differentiate, like, since we visualize Maharashtra as a successful model, right? Similar path, what you learned, like, Buddha being a ninth reincarnation of Vishnu, all that thing we also learned. Eight, there was such a rebellious pattern in Maharashtra where we kind of, discounted, like, discredited this fact at all, through the mean of education. So how do you see, like, being we are connected state, like Maharashtra and Telangana and all that, Karnataka and all that thing, how do you see any resonance of change that would happen, towards South?
Yes, definitely there's scope, so much of scope, because firstly, a large section of our community are very staunch followers of Dr. Ambedkar. That's the advantage that we have. The unfortunate fact is these followers of Dr. Ambedkar, including myself, are not completely aware of Dr. Ambedkar's epic conversion. For example, 2 years back, there was this discussion on Dr. Ambedkar converting to Buddhism, many people actually got surprised to know that Dr. Ambedkar is actually converted to Buddhism. People don't even know. They're completely uninformed or misinformed in many cases. So I think this scope is there because most of our people are staunch Ambedkars. The moment they realize that Dr. Ambedkar has a strong inclination towards Buddhism, there will be a crisis of mind, and that will eventually lead to this progress. But that crisis is not happening. So that's the problem.
So how can since you came on the ANA platform, what can ANA do, with the help of locals? How can we propagate, these teachings to the South? As Arunaji also came forward, offering her help, in the form of books and all that. If somebody's able to convert, with such a highly educated population South, aren't any people converting books into the different languages so that the messages can spread?
Yes, I just came to know that there are those translated works in both Telugu, Tamil, and different languages. But sir, I think here also the problem is people don't even know that these books exist. For
Okay.
example, I myself did not know about all these books some years ago. In fact, whatever we have discussed so far, I've learned those things only in the last 4 or 5 years. If you had met me 5 years back, I would have sound completely ignorant. That is the situation. So what can ANA do, or any such good intention people can do? I think this is something that requires serious discussion, and I honestly feel that I'm not in that position to give suggestions because I don't have such experience. But definitely I will think about it. I'll talk to the old people who are very much experienced, and I'll definitely contact you, and we'll definitely initiate this very important discussion.
Okay, yeah, definitely create some footprint. I don't know which part of South India are you from. Definitely, collective efforts can be made, to propagate the teachings, as well as it will enhance and improve the people's livelihood as well. Definitely, as you rightly put, education. We were talking about the educate part, and then followed by the Sheilas. So I think these two things go together, and then there's the agitation part also comes. I think these are all non-violence tool Dr. Ambedkar has given to our community. Not to only benefit the Maharashtrians, definitely to benefit the entire India. For that matter, the one we have been oppressed throughout the centuries. So I think our brothers and sisters in the South, they can get benefited, and they can alleviate their sufferings out of all this suppression what is happening in India. I think it would be a great cause for our being educated, and also being inculcating the silas in it in the process. So I really thank you for you coming to our session, and enlightening this Vihara, as well as we want to spread the message, and also ANA as an organization can collectively, help collectively, basically. Okay, so that's the and I wish you well.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words.
Good. Any other questions to Dr. Saram? Dr. Saram, I do have one question regarding the topic that Dr. Ambedkar also mentioned during his lifetime, that मुझे पढ़े लिखे लोगों ने धोखा दिया, the educated people deceive me. And we can see the same thing now also. During that time, the educated people deceive him, and also nowadays, most of the educated community, you can see in our lifetime and your lifetime also, you can see all over the place, they don't follow his ideology. So are we fail on the educated part?
Yes, sir. I think, at least if I want to speak from the point of view of my own state, that is largely true. We have failed because, as we discussed in our presentation, whenever people speak about Dr. Ambedkar's slogan, educate, agitate, and organize, the word educate is only used to get higher education, earn money, that's all. There is no reference to the aspect of knowledge that we discussed, no reference to the aspect of sila. I think the inculcation of this information is completely missing. It's only like you study hard, you crack the exam, settle well, that's it. Naturally, in fact, as you rightly pointed out, Baba Sahib gave that speech in Agra way back in 1956. He says the reason why this is happening is because we lack this community bond, a spiritual bond. Why is this lacking? Because our moral teaching is very wrong. That is why person is not able to do this. So Baba Sahib has this ideology that a behavior of a person is largely molded by the ideas that is inculcated in his or her own mind. So, in fact, in one of his writings, Philosophy of Hinduism, he speaks about how can you make people more moral. So he discusses there are some people who are by birth more inclined to do good things, and there are people who are inclined to do bad things. We're not going into that debate, but Baba Sahib says whatever may be the debate of nature or nurture, it is the responsibility of the good people. If they wish to promote good, they need to teach what is good and what is bad. This is the essence of Dhamma. You need to teach what is good and what is bad. What is your responsibility? Aapka duties kya hai? If these things are not taught properly, continuously, repetitively, then naturally people who are getting literate, who are getting degrees, will have no sense of responsibility, no sense of community bond, which is a spiritual bond. They feel, like we got educated, got good degrees. What is the need? So I think this is the aspect of focusing only on the literacy aspect of the word educate. We are failing. We need to parallelly focus more on knowledge and sila aspect as well. All these three things must go together. Only one is happening. That is why we see this break in community bond. Naturally, no knowledge, no enthusiasm to do this task of emancipating our own people. People have this will. I see there are some people who have this willpower. Yes, I need to do something, but they lack the proper knowledge. They don't have the understanding or right of the writings of Baba Sahib. Naturally, they are lacking with the means that are available to initiate the change. So I think our solution lies in this thing. Like, how can we uh, improve the literacy of the people and also parallelly impart knowledge in Silla? This is something that we need to discuss more with all the informed people so that we can arrive at a rational conclusion.
Thank you, Dr. Sam. Yeah,
Thanks.
definitely. We need to educate our own educated people. You can say like that. The only getting knowledge is not sufficient, educated knowledge, but the mind knowledge is also very important. They are only educated in terms of the bookish knowledge, you can say. But the overall community-based social knowledge, they are still lacking a lot of things. Yeah. But any other questions? Please go ahead and raise your hand. Also, you can type your questions in the chat box. You can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Jai Bhim, Sriram. This is Chatak Dhakne from Michigan. You gave the excellent talk, very, very educative. The education part, the literacy part, I believe you said it is from the Buddha and his Dhamma. Is that correct?
No, sir. Regarding the literacy aspect, I said that I cannot give suggestion because if you're an engineer, you need to read the books that belong to the domain of that. So regarding knowledge, I said you need to read the works of Baba Sahib. Regarding Sila or the moral qualities that are required, we need to refer to Buddha and his Dhamma. Should I display that slide once again?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, one second. Just give
Please,
me a
please.
second. Are you able to see it?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
So-
and one more thing. Can you go back to the slide where you said Pradnya and Sheila?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the translation of those two words in English, Pradnya means thinking right, and Sheila acting right. Where these translations are mentioned? Which books mention this?
Sir, I've taken this quote directly from Buddha and his Dhamma.
Okay. And did you mention the two book recommendations in your talk?
Yes, sir. I recommended one book, and it is just a second. Yeah, I recommended this book called as Revolution and Counter-Revolution in Ancient India.
Okay, okay, understood. And the second was?
No, I have recommended only one book.
Okay, okay, good. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Thank you. Any other questions to Dr. Sairam? Last question. We do have 3 more minutes to go.
Yeah, so since nobody's thinking, I am just thinking on a both aspect of the professionalism and the social aspect. So you are being a dentist. How do your practice influences your social aspect? Vice versa.
My practice doesn't necessarily influence my own social practice. On the
Yeah.
contrary, my own understanding of Baba Sahib influences me a lot as a practitioner, both as an individual, also as a dentist. Uh, it it compels me to be more humane and concerning towards fellow individuals. Ultimately, that is the criteria to judge. Because Baba Sahib once quoted Tukaram and said, uh, Tukaram said, I fall on the feet of those who practice what they preach. Ultimately, that is the criteria to judge a person. Many people might say, I am this or that, but it's the practice that matters. So, this is what Baba Sahib also uh, asks us to do or compels us to follow. So, my understanding of Baba Sahib influences a lot when it comes to my own practice. Uh, I'm sorry if I'm not understanding or answering.
No,
Thing.
that's fine. That's fine. You are. I think you are doing good. I think just trying to utilize your time to understand. So sometimes people do think differently. People may have get little opportunity to think their questions in the process. To get more in output out of you as well. While you are engaged. So okay. So you are currently practicing as a dentist, right?
Yes, sir.
On Telangana, correct?
Telangana. Yes, sir.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Good, good. So Dr. Sairam, do you want to yeah, go ahead, Rakesh. Yeah, before I go ahead.
Yeah, Dr. Sairam, it was very insightful presentation about uh, the education, what it means, and you explained very thoroughly. And I hope you will come again on this online Vihara with the other two parts, like agitate and organize, with the same, detailed explanation. Yeah, so I was listening to the discussion how we can, promote Baba Sahib's um, Baba Sahib's message and around different parts of the India and the world, is to know the ancient history. Uh, I think that is really a turning point to the, because in India is mostly religious people. They don't want to go against any religion, because even if people who follow Baba Sahib and Ambedkar, when it comes to the religion, they don't want to touch that part, right? So since if we most of the people who lost the ancient histories knowledge, they stick to the current practices, whatever going on. So in that sense, if we uh, educate or make aware the people around the Indian or Indian people, or who practices current cultures, about their ancient, the knowledge or the Buddhist practices, I think that will really helps in promoting the what we intend to do it. So that's the only I wanted to add discussion whatever going on. But thanks for giving us such a very insightful presentation for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, Dr. Simon, I was asking about that the last slide that you presented about the BAWS, that we do need to visit the BAWS site oftenly,
Yes,
and
sir.
also like to join the forum. There is a WhatsApp forum, there is a discussion forum going on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this one. So members, if you don't mind to join these channels, so there is an Instagram channel, there is a WhatsApp channel, and also there is a the Twitter, and there's a lot of discussion happening in that forum, and Dr. Saram is always there to share his thought. So please do follow. These are the only website that we keep all the books of Dr. Ambedkar and all our other Bahujan leaders, and they are keep updating the books in the different languages. So Prashant is also on the call. So Prashant, you want to discuss quickly, if you don't mind, you can unmute yourself, Mr. Rao. Yeah.
Jamil, sorry, I think Dr. Sairam already knows a lot
Correct.
about this different channels and all, but um, I'm sorry, I didn't catch the question
No,
exactly.
I would like that our members should go there, subscribe the channel. There are a lot of discussion forum is happening there. So they should
Yeah,
subscribe. That's what I was saying. Yeah.
so experts like Dr. Sairam himself are curating some of our posts, and according to the day or what has happened on that day or whatever is the important information for the day, or if there is a connection between what happened that day and what Baba Sahib has said, uh, these forums actually keep Baba Sahib's writing relevant to everyday things. So more than just joining these channel, right? What help I think everyone can provide is if you can um, be the ambassador for this, not just the website, but I mean, website is just a tool, right? The knowledge that Dr. Sairam talked about, we are sitting on gold mine, but we are not spreading the wealth, right? To say the least. So, so if you can either bring in more people, or even if you yourself read. Actually, unfortunately, because I run the website, I get to see the usage statistics of the website, and um, like from America, the readership is pretty low, and I also see that many times we are not uh, researching on topics before we are discussing on those topics, right? Sometimes Baba Sahib has already explained the answer to a lot of things, but we are trying to reinvent the wheel when we are arguing with each other. So I sometimes feel that there is definitely a lot of opportunity for us to um, inspire each other to go there. And this is why, like, from baws.in, we have been holding talks very focused on Baba Sahib's writing, and the talk that Dr. Sairam just shared with everybody, right? Please do listen to it. It is broken down into chapters, so you don't have to consume it in one shot. But it gives you enough details to get you excited about these books. And don't be scared, because Baba Sahib wrote for us, right? So it's not like the other guys who write very complicated book. It's not Shashi Tharoor, right? So he has written those things for us. Whoever gets to learn English a little bit literate should be able to read those books. So that's my appeal, that whatever knowledge and sila that Dr. Sairam has been talking about, a shortcut to that is sitting on each and everybody's phone right now. But yeah, it's up to the community to take advantage of it. With that, I'll let Dr. Sairam speak again.
Thank you, Prashant Bhai, for that wonderful explanation. And this is very much needed in our times, because uh, People know this quote of Dr. Ambedkar. He said that those who do not know history cannot make history. When we read the normal books, NCRTs or any other books written by the so-called popular historians, you do not even find the traces of our own history. They'll tell their own version of the story, which is a complete untruth. So even if you want to know your own history, you need to read Baba Sahib Ambedkar. It's non-negotiable. I hear complaints from few people who say Baba Sahib was not a professionally trained historian. But I don't understand this logic, because is there any person with 2 PhDs and a barrister degree and wrote books on history? It's only Baba Sahib. He's highly proficient. And if you see his own courses that he has taken at Columbia and LSE, they include so many courses on history. So if you're thinking that he's not a professional historian, you're mistaken. He has a very strong ground and base in history. And if you read his books, particularly his own economics books, you'll find so many facts about history that even today's modern day economists don't know about our own country. You go and read Problem of the Rupee, you'll get shocked. The kind of facts that Babasaheb was able to gather from the forgotten debates that happened in the British Parliament. I'm someone who reads all these modern day books written by economists. No one knows all these facts. They don't even mention them because they don't know them, first of all. So Babasaheb was an historian and he was an unchallenged anthropologist. Many people don't know this. If you read his books, you'll understand the depth of anthropology knowledge he has. So please don't have any such misleading notions or apprehensions about whether I'm reading true history or false history. Please read about Dr. Ambedkar, who is an unchallenged expert in all these things. You see my video, or the other video that I shared in this session, you'll understand the depth and breadth of Dr. Ambedkar, and you'll form your own opinion. Please read these books. Follow our site on the social media platforms, be it on Instagram or WhatsApp or X. You'll get regular updates. You'll find links to the excerpts from the speeches and writings of Dr. Ambedkar. As Prashant Bhai was mentioning, sometimes we engage in debates on topics without knowing that Dr. Ambedkar has already covered them in detail. Example, Pune Pact. I'm sorry if I'm taking so much of time, I'll just conclude. Like Pune Pact, people discuss so many things, but they'll miss this, significant points. They'll just discuss, randomly. But read what Congress and Gandhi have done to the untouchables. There's an entire chapter dedicated to the history of Pune Pact. And I see some people even today saying that we want separate electorate. The question is, did Babasaheb really want us to have a separate electorate after the independence? The answer is no. He wanted cumulative voting and plural constituencies. This is something that many people don't know. So, if you want to understand all these aspects, you need to refer the writings of Babasaheb. As I said, as Babasaheb said, I'm sorry, those who do not know history cannot make history. So, if you want to know history and make history, you need to read Babasaheb Ambedkar. Thank you. Sorry if I've taken extra time.
No, Dr. Saram. It needed, this time is needed for our community, and you are rightly said that we need to learn our history to make the history for the coming generation. That's what we need to learn that. And thank you so much for coming to the online Vihara. It's our pleasure that you join and share your knowledge, because we do look for the great presenter and the knowledge person who can share with us, and also we can learn together. There are a lot of things that we don't know. We probably came across, we also read a lot of books, but sometimes we did not pay attention to the content that you put in the slides. So thank you for presenting this. And on behalf of all the participants, I would like to thank you for joining today. We also need to cover the second two options, agitate and organize. So we will find your time later on, and we will see how you can contribute to our forum here. But with that, again, thank you everyone for joining today. It was a little glitch on our Zoom link. We want to make sure we'll make it happen next time. We will try to secure a little bit better and try to do it more efficiently next time. But thank you very much for joining everyone today, and wish you a happy Sunday, and see you next week, same time.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Anand. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.